What is up, guys? I'm happy to bring you a movement tutorial. I'm briefly going to be covering strafing and rolling, and then I'm going to do an in-depth how-to on wall bouncing and air bouncing. Finally, I'm going to go over some common misconceptions and mistakes people seem to have when it comes to movement. And I also want you to keep in mind throughout the video that this is specific to my style of play. So there may very well be things that I left out that are worth looking up, but everything you see in this video are things that I tend to do as well as how I go about them. So let's start with strafing. Strafing for me is a very simple tactic. You go from left to right with your left analog stick in a variable motion. Keep in mind you can backpedal. You do not want to do this in one continuous movement. Switch up left and right, left, right, so to speak. A lot of people like to use both joysticks too, so you're constantly moving. I don't like to do that because I find it sacrifices my accuracy, so I stay away from that. The cover strafe is something that's largely ignored but worth mentioning. I want you to imagine there's somebody in front of me and somebody behind me. I can strafe along cover without actually getting off a cover, which can keep me concealed. So you can see I have a sniper in front of me and a guy behind me in the staged example, and all I'm going to do is go from left to right, which makes myself a little bit harder for my opponent to accurately hit me, who is behind. It keeps me concealed from the sniper. Rolling is not bad. That is a misconception. Rolling is great for getting around corners when your wall bounce angle is not really promising, and it's great for dodging grenades. The real problem with rolling seems to be rolling in battle. A lot of people have a tendency to roll in battle, and this is bad against players that know how to play the game, because if you roll when they are prepared to shoot, such as in this example, they will get you in one shot because they will know exactly where you're going to land. Rolling in battle is something I do quite a bit, but I am very particular about when I roll. In this example, you can see that when I roll, the opposite player is not prepared to shoot me, and in this instance I actually time my roll with his shots, which makes the tactic a little bit more viable. With wall bouncing, before we get into that, I recommend having a look sensitivity of 20 or over. Alternate control scheme will stop you from rolling, although I play on default only, and I'd recommend playing with claw. Claw is arguably what makes me so good when it comes to my movement. So you can see that my right index finger is curved over the A button, my middle finger is going to fire, both my thumbs are on the joysticks, and what claw allows me to do is look, shoot, and wall bounce all at once. So instead of my thumb switching between the A button and the joystick, my thumb always stays on the joystick, and my right index finger will deal with the meleeing and the rolling. When it comes to wall bouncing, you are not going to wall cancel. We're not there yet. I want you to find one wall and just slide to it. If you roll, that means you have gone too far. So the idea here is you want to get comfortable with the maximum distance you can slide to a wall. And you can do this by looking at the ground. I find that helps sometimes, and just kind of comparing distances. The next thing I want you to do is know your predisposition moves, such as going forward or SWAT turning, because this is going to play a larger role in your movement later down the road, which I will explain. In this little example I wanted to break down, you can see here I effectively use a wall bounce. I tuck into a wall when he shoots, avoiding his shot and getting off the one shot. I actually roll thinking there's a grenade, but there wasn't. But like I said, it's great for dodging grenades, so don't dismiss rolling too fast. I SWAT turn here, so I fluidly get out of my opponent's line of fire, which turns out to save me. Here is where wall bouncing really comes in handy. When you are on the run, or if you're just traversing around the map, going forward from cover is a very effective way versus just roadie running of traveling. So you can see here that I'm a little bit faster in my movement by sliding into the corner of the walls and going forward. I'm unpredictable, so I definitely practice that in a private lobby. Air bounce is the evolution of wall bouncing. I'm sorry from this point on if I term it as wall bouncing. You can see here it's the same idea as wall bouncing, but I'm going to pull off of the wall, and then I can go from another wall immediately. So just do this with one wall till you're comfortable, and then try it with multiple walls. I know this can be hard to get down, so let's start with one wall. I'm going to slide into the wall and pull off in a kind of zigzag motion, so I'd recommend finding a wall that is fairly long, and you can see I'm just slowly inching my way up, going forward from cover. This will just help you get a better feel for it, although there will be some situations, as I will show, where one wall will prove to be useful by itself. In this situation, I tuck into the wall and get away from my opponent in an unpredictable manner. So you can see instead of just roadie running, I'm able to get away just barely by air bouncing with one wall. In this example, I'm actually making myself harder to hit by wall canceling with one wall. So you can see this opponent has a mark set, and by air bouncing I'm making it a lot tougher for him to target me. Now let's move on to two walls. The trick here is when you're air bouncing to one wall, you're going to look to the other wall you want to air bounce and then immediately slide into that wall. And to do this in a continuous motion, you need to keep canceling. So you're going to go from one wall, pull off while looking to the other wall, and do the same thing simultaneously. I would recommend finding 2 walls. You can do this and practicing in a private lobby as well. This can be great for cutting down distances, as you see here. In this situation, my opponent nades me out, so I swiftly air bounce up, which tends to be faster than just roadie running in this situation, and it actually sets me up for a Lancer Strafe kill. Using these arrows, this is exactly what's going through my head. We're going to go through a triangle bounce from the left wall to the middle wall to the right wall. So this will get you used to bouncing with more than 2 walls, and you should try to do this in both ways, clockwise and counterclockwise. And when you're comfortable, try to do it in a continuous motion. If you have to get a little bit of roadie running in there to make it happen, that's fine. Practice makes perfect. If you roll a little bit, that's fine. Practice makes perfect. So in this little example, you can see how everything's piecing together as I'm just bouncing from one place to the other. And I want to give a little breakdown of what's actually going through my head, because it's a lot easier said than done, and shown than done in practice. So these arrows illustrate where I am planning on bouncing. I have a predetermined idea of where I actually want to bounce, and you're going to see that come into practice right now. So that is the real trick to air bouncing. For those of you who are just thinking that you're going to spam the A button or the right bumper depending on what control scheme you're using, that is not the case. You need to have an idea of where you actually want to bounce, and you'll be able to do this subconsciously later down the road, since it will just all come to you naturally after time. But putting it in a private lobby and getting a feel for the maps is something I definitely recommend, just so you know what you are and are not capable of when it comes to air bouncing. On this map, you can see it's a little bit more wide open, so I have to add in a little roadie running, which is absolutely fine. But I still need to stick by what I said when I said that I have a predetermined idea of where I want to be bouncing all the time. If you do not have an idea, you're not going to be successful in your air bouncing, and you're going to be rolling a lot. So you can see, just based off of the layout of the map, it's really easy for me to quickly determine what kind of path I want to take. But above all, practice makes perfect. You will not get this in one day, but after time, it will come to you and it will stick to you. That sounded awful. I'm sorry. Common mistake. Number 1, knowing your cover. A lot of people will try to take cover on things they actually can't take cover of, and this can mean the difference between life and death. So you really need to know what you can and cannot take cover on. The improper cover slide happens when people slide into cover, but instead of hitting the corner, they hit just before. So I want to remind you, you're going to go to the corner of the cover when wall bouncing, so you can swiftly go forward. Number 3 would be the moon slide glitch. I don't know how to get rid of this, but you can see as you slide, your character does not take cover. He stands up. I do know that this can happen more, though, if you excessively wall bounce, which is the next mistake. A lot of people attribute fast wall bouncing or the angular bounce to skill. That is not the case. If you focus way too much on your wall bouncing, you will not focus enough on your aiming. As you can see here, I'm way too caught up in my wall bouncing and I get bodied. So please control your bouncing. Sometimes one bounce is all you need. Bouncing to people's right hands is a lot of things new players tend to do, and you can see in this example, I'm going to bounce right to the corner of where he's taking cover. This is not good because it sets him up for an easy one-shot, and I'm going to show you that from my view so you can see just how easy it is. He's wall bouncing, but he slides right to the corner, and I'm able to pick up an easy kill. This is what you should do. So you could see I bounced to the outside of the wall parallel to him. So I hit that cover, dodge his shot, and that sets me up for an easy kill. That's actually going to conclude my tutorial. I want to thank you for watching. This did take me a long time to put together, so I would really appreciate it if you could give me a like. I want to thank Minja, Pooks, and Reed for helping me with some of these staged examples. If I did not clear anything up, please leave me a comment and I will answer it in the comments. But above all, I want to thank you for watching and take care.